I never thought a 3-hour flight would flip my life upside down. It started like any other day: tired eyes, noise-canceling headphones, a window seat I barely remembered booking. I was flying from Chicago to San Francisco for another meaningless pitch, pretending I still cared about my job. At 30, I had mastered the art of emotional autopilot, until he walked down the aisle. He didn't do anything remarkable. No grand smile, no dramatic flair. He just passed by, checking seat belts, his expression unreadable but focused. Something in me stilled. When our eyes met, it wasn't electric, just aware, like he saw more than I meant to show. I looked away, irritated with myself. Maybe I was projecting. Maybe I was lonely. But when he returned to offer drinks, his voice, calm, low, made my pulse skip. "Water or juice?" "Water," I said, and added, "Thanks." Our fingers brushed. His gaze lingered half a second too long. It wasn't enough to call attention, but it was enough to unsettle everything I thought I had under control. I didn't expect to see him again until landing, but 20 minutes later he passed my row slower than necessary. Then again. The third time, he paused. "You doing okay?" he asked, casual. I nodded. He smiled. "Small. Real. Let me know if you need anything." I hesitated. "Actually, do you have any extra snacks?" He tilted his head, amused. "You asking because you're hungry, or because you're bored?" "Little of both," I said. He handed me a small packet of pretzels from his pocket. "This stays between us." Something in the way he said it made me want to know what else he might be hiding. The next hour blurred. I found myself watching him move through the cabin with quiet precision, his calm presence strangely magnetic. He wasn't performing. He was just there, grounded, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Then he appeared beside me again, almost out of nowhere. "Stretch your legs?" he asked. Not a command, not a suggestion. Just a door left half open. I followed him toward the back of the plane, past the galley, where we stood near the emergency exit. It wasn't private, but it felt like it. "You fly often?" he asked. "Too often," I replied. "You." That made him laugh, a soft, unguarded sound. Too much to remember why I started. There was a beat of silence, not awkward, just full of things unsaid. "I'm Alex," he said finally, extending his hand. "Liam." Our handshake was brief, but I didn't want to let go. He looked at me like he was weighing something. "You seem different." "From what?" "From the usual." I shrugged. Maybe I just learned to keep my guard up. "Maybe," he said. "But you're still watching the world too closely for someone who's checked out." I didn't know how to respond. No one had ever said that to me. Certainly not a stranger at 35,000 feet. "You ever feel like you're pretending?" I asked. He didn't blink. All the time. We stood like that for minutes, strangers with shared secrets and no reason to trust each other. But something about Alex made it feel okay to want more. "Duty calls," he said, motioning toward the call light above row 14. I nodded, stepped aside, but before he left, he added, "Later, if you're still awake." He didn't say what for. I didn't ask. Back in my seat, the hum of the engines seemed louder. My heart, too. I stared out the window, unsure what to do with the sense that something important had just begun. Alex didn't come back for a while, and I told myself to forget it. But then I saw him again, refilling water, and our eyes locked. This time, the silence between us said everything. As the sun began to set, washing the cabin in amber light, I found myself wandering to the back again. He was there, crouched near a cabinet, refolding something that didn't need refolding. "You're still up," he said without looking. "So are you." He looked up then, met my gaze, and the space between us narrowed. Emotionally, not physically. "I thought I'd regret talking to you," he admitted. "Passengers are supposed to blur together." "Do I?" He shook his head. "No." A pause. Then, "I have rules about things like this." "Me too. And yet," I echoed. Neither of us moved, but something in me already had. I didn't sleep on the rest of the flight. My eyes were closed, but my mind replayed every word, every pause, every look. I kept asking myself why a simple exchange had shaken me so much. But maybe it wasn't the exchange. It was what it uncovered. When the plane landed in San Francisco, passengers stood, impatient and eager. I stayed seated. Alex was near the front, assisting with deboarding, his face calm and unreadable. For a second I wondered if I had imagined the whole thing. Maybe I was just another forgettable passenger to him. Then, as I passed him on the way out, he caught my gaze. It was brief, but his lips twitched slightly. A signal, small but deliberate. I exhaled, unsure why I had been holding my breath. Outside, the city felt colder than I remembered. I took a cab to my hotel and tried to focus on the upcoming meetings, but my thoughts kept circling back to him. I wasn't used to being shaken by someone. I'd had dates, flings, even a short-lived relationship a year ago. But this wasn't that. This was something I couldn't define. 2 days passed. Work, dinner with clients, sleepless nights. Then, on the flight back, I heard the announcement and froze. "Cabin crew, lead for today's flight will be Alex." Coincidence? Luck? I didn't care. I scanned the cabin as I boarded, and there he was, by the jump seat, speaking with another attendant. He didn't notice me at first, but when he did, he blinked slowly, like he wasn't sure whether to acknowledge me. Then he nodded once, almost imperceptibly. This time I sat near the back. He made his rounds as usual, professional, composed. But every time he passed my row, I felt it. The pause. The weight of unspoken words. An hour in, the plane hit mild turbulence. The seatbelt sign lit up. The crew returned to their stations. I glanced toward the galley. He was there alone. I stood slowly and walked back. "Everything okay?" I asked. He nodded. "Routine bumps." I leaned against the wall beside him. "Didn't think I'd see you again." "Me neither," he said, quietly. "Do you believe in signs?" He didn't answer right away. "I believe in people showing up when you need them. Do you need someone right now?" He turned, looked at me fully. "That's the problem. I do." We stood in that small space, the quiet around us, more honest than any conversation. He looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't. "Say it," I told him. "Whatever it is." He hesitated. "You make me forget the rules. That scares me." I nodded. "Me too." There was a long silence, the kind that settles deep in the chest. "I've been careful," he said. "Too careful. I know how people talk, how they judge. In this job, it's easier to keep things simple. Be friendly, polite, forgettable." And then I walked in. He smiled barely. "And now I can't forget you." I didn't know what to say. Every logical part of me screamed to walk away. But I didn't want to. I wanted to stay in this fragile space with him. "I'm not asking for anything," I said. "Just honesty." "That's the hardest thing," he whispered. Someone called from the front. He stepped away, and just like that, the moment passed. But the tension stayed. It was in every glance, every accidental brush of his hand as he handed me a drink later. When we landed, I didn't rush to get off. Neither did he. Passengers filed out. I waited until the aisle was clear. Then I approached him. "Dinner?" I asked. He blinked. "You mean off the plane?" I nodded. "No uniforms, no roles. Just you and me." He looked down, conflicted. "I'm not sure I can." "You don't have to say yes now." "I'm not saying no," he said. That was enough. We exchanged numbers. Just that. No promises. No assumptions. I walked into the night air, feeling more alive than I had in months. Alex didn't text me for 3 days. I told myself I wouldn't obsess over it. But every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was him. Every hour that passed felt heavier than the last. When his message finally came, it was short. "Can we talk?" We met at a quiet cafe near the airport. No uniforms, no titles, just two men pretending this wasn't a risk. He sat across from me, tense. I could see it in his hands, still but clenched. I waited. Let him come to it in his own time. "I almost didn't come," he said. "I thought ignoring you might make this easier." "But you didn't ignore me." "No," he said. I couldn't. The silence between us stretched, but not in a comforting way. This was the kind of silence filled with fear. "I want to be honest," he said. "I've spent years building walls. My family doesn't know, my coworkers assume, I let them. It's easier." "And me?" I asked. "Where do I fit?" He looked up, and for the first time I saw the weight behind his eyes. "You don't fit. That's the problem. You break the pattern." I nodded slowly. "So what are we doing here?" "I don't know." I swallowed. "Because I can't be someone's secret, Alex. I've done that before. It hurts." "I'm not asking you to be," he said quickly. "I'm trying to figure this out." I stared at him. "Figure me out, or figure yourself out?" He didn't answer. That told me enough. We sat for a while, not speaking. I could feel the edges of something fraying, whatever connection we'd started. It was straining under the pressure of his fear. Finally, I stood. "Call me when you know." His face didn't change, but I saw something flicker behind his eyes. Panic, maybe, or relief. I couldn't tell. As I walked away, I felt hollow. I hadn't expected a confession or a promise. But I'd hoped he'd fight for it. For us. A week passed. Then 2. I buried myself in work, avoided questions from friends, stopped checking my phone as often. But even in distraction, I felt the ghost of what we'd started. Then late one night my phone rang. Alex. His voice was quiet but not hesitant. I messed up. "Yeah," I said. "I've been scared for so long." Scared of what people would think, of what I might lose. And now? "I'm still scared," he admitted. "But I'm more afraid of losing you." I didn't speak. The truth needed space. "I don't know how to do this," he said, "but I want to try." I exhaled. "Then let's start with a real date." We met in the city. No hidden corners, no back exits. A public place, a table near a window. Nothing loud or dramatic. It felt normal and terrifying. He told me more that night. About growing up in a house where love was conditional. About choosing a job that kept him moving, so he didn't have to stay long enough to explain himself. About years of silence. "I got good at pretending," he said. "But pretending starts to feel like truth if you do it long enough." "And now?" I asked. "I want something real," he said. So we began. Not fast, not loud, but real. We saw each other on his layovers, walks through neighborhoods, quiet dinners, laughing at stupid movies. No declarations, no pressure, just space and presence. But it didn't stay simple. One evening, as we sat on a bench watching the planes land, Alex's phone lit up. A message from someone I didn't recognize. He read it and went pale. "What is it?" I asked. He hesitated. "Someone from work. They saw us, together." I felt the bottom drop out. "And?" They're asking questions. Nothing direct, just hints. I swallowed hard. Is that going to be a problem? He didn't answer right away. Then, it could be. The air between us grew colder. I knew this might happen, he said, but I didn't expect it so soon. I stood up. What do you want to do? I don't know, he said again. That word, over and over. Then figure it out, I said, because I can't keep waiting for you to choose me. I didn't hear from Alex for 3 days after that bench conversation. No calls, no messages, just silence, as if the air between us had thickened into something too heavy to speak through. I didn't reach out either, not out of pride, but because I knew if I chased him now, I'd be giving him permission to keep running. On the 4th day, I opened my phone and saw a photo. No message, just a photo. It was us, walking along the pier 2 weeks ago, his head tilted toward me, my hand brushing his arm. The kind of moment we'd thought was unremarkable at the time. But someone had captured it. Someone had sent it. Below, a single line. Thought you should know what's circulating. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't recognize the number. I didn't have to. Someone from his airline, maybe a coworker, maybe worse. I forwarded the photo to Alex with a single question. Is this why you've gone quiet? Minutes passed, then hours. No response. That night I sat in my apartment, phone on the table, untouched. The city moved outside, people going about their lives, but I felt like I was standing still. Sometime after midnight my phone buzzed. I didn't know how to face you. That was all. No apology, no explanation. Just a sentence that only confirmed what I already knew. He wasn't ready. The next morning, I deleted his contact. Not out of anger, but because I couldn't keep holding space for someone who wasn't willing to stand beside me. A week later, I flew again. A business trip. Same airline, different route. I didn't expect to see him. I didn't plan for it. But life doesn't always wait for plans. Halfway through boarding, I glanced up and froze. Alex stood near the entrance of the cabin, checking the passenger list. He saw me before I could look away. For a second, he didn't move. Then he turned and walked toward the galley. I told myself to ignore it, to sit down and pretend he was just another crew member. But my hands shook. He didn't speak to me during the flight. Not a word. But as passengers settled in, I saw him watching from across the aisle. Not angry, not regretful, just broken. When the plane landed, I waited for the crowd to exit. I thought he'd avoid me again. But just before I stepped off, he appeared by the exit. "Liam," he said quietly. I turned, but didn't speak. "I never meant to hurt you." "You didn't mean to choose silence either," I replied. He looked down. "They called me in, HR. They didn't say it directly, but the message was clear. If I wanted to keep my root, I needed to be more discreet?" I laughed bitterly. "So they'd rather have a closeted employee than a happy one." He didn't answer. "They gave me a choice," he said. "My job or the truth. And you chose?" His silence said everything. I nodded slowly. "Then we're done." "No," he said, stepping forward. "Please. I didn't say no to you. I said yes to fear. And now I'm trying to undo it." "You can't undo silence," I said. "You live with it, or you stop feeding it." "I'm trying." "Then try harder." There was a pause, then his voice cracked. "I miss you." I stepped closer, eyes steady. "Do you miss me? Or do you miss who you are when you're with me?" He didn't know how to answer, so I walked away. 3 weeks passed. I didn't expect to hear from him again. Then one afternoon, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a printed letter, his handwriting, sharp and controlled. "Liam, I don't expect forgiveness. But I need you to know something. I handed in my resignation last week. I told them I wouldn't live two lives anymore. I don't know what's next. But for the first time, I'm not afraid of starting over. You taught me that. Not through speeches, but by showing me what love looks like when it doesn't flinch. If you ever want to talk, I'll be where we met. No more pretending. Alex, I read it twice. Then again. It didn't fix everything, but it told me one thing. The man I fell for was finally choosing to stop hiding. I hadn't planned to go to the airport that day. I didn't even book a flight. But something about his letter kept repeating in my mind. I'll be where we met. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted something more. I didn't let myself name it. I parked outside the terminal and sat there for a while, staring through the windshield. People rushed past with suitcases, talking into phones, checking departure screens. None of them were looking for what I was. Inside, everything felt the same as before. Cold air, distant voices, the hum of movement. I scanned the space near the security gates, not sure what I was expecting, until I saw him. Alex. No uniform, no badge, just him. He stood by a bench, head low, hands in his pockets, waiting. I stopped walking. He hadn't seen me yet, and I had every right to turn around, to walk away, to let our story end with distance and paper letters. But I didn't. He looked up, just as I stepped closer. His expression shifted. Surprise, relief, something deeper. "Hey," he said, voice barely audible. "Hey." We stood there in the middle of the airport, two people with too much between them and nothing to hide behind anymore. "I didn't think you'd come," he said. I almost didn't. He nodded. "I get that." We didn't hug. We didn't touch. We just looked at each other, letting the weight of the past settle without trying to fix it. "You really left?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Last shift was 3 days ago." "What now?" "I don't know," he said. "I'm figuring it out. Might stay here, might move." "And why tell me?" "Because I wasn't finished," he said. "With you?" My chest tightened. "You could have said that sooner." "I should have," he said. "But I needed to stop lying to myself before I could be honest with you." I exhaled slowly. "So why now?" He took a breath. "Because it finally hurts more to lose you than to lose the version of me I tried to protect." I looked away, not because I didn't believe him, but because believing him meant I had to face what I still felt. "Liam," he said, stepping closer, "I'm not asking you to forget what I did. I'm asking if you still believe in what we had." I didn't answer right away. "I don't believe in rewinding," I said, "but I believe in starting again." His eyes didn't move from mine. "Can we?" "I think we already are." For the first time in weeks, I felt my chest loosen. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was just quiet. Safe. We left the airport together. No dramatic music, no speeches, just two people walking side by side into the unknown. Weeks later, things weren't perfect. He was still searching for a new rhythm. I was still guarding parts of myself. But we were learning how to meet in the middle. Sometimes it was easy. Shared coffee, long walks, laughing until we forgot why we were ever afraid. Other times it was harder. Pauses in conversation, moments where old habits resurfaced. But the difference now? We stayed. We didn't run. We had dinners with friends, his and mine. We told stories without flinching. We stopped hiding behind silence. One night, after we watched a late movie and walked home in the cool air, he turned to me. "Do you think we're going to make it?" he asked. I didn't pretend to know. "I think we already have," I said, "because you're not who you were, and neither am I." He smiled, not because he was sure, but because he was willing to try. That was enough. In the end, this wasn't a love story born out of perfection. It was born out of courage. Courage to change. Courage to lose something, to gain something real. Courage to stand in the light when you've spent your whole life in the shadows. We never went back to who we were before that first flight. We didn't need to. Because the best part of the story wasn't the beginning. It was the choice we made to keep writing it together.